You could just not kill each other over the girl. You could just
which is certainly not what I was doing. I was just standing there. What a freaking traumatic event for my fish. Oh my god. They were in an explosion? What the hell?
Just you just get sucked out,
Yes.
And then, after a year and a half of doing porn, I get all kinds of messages you're fucking ugly, you're stupid, you're a whore, you should die, whatever. Not one comment about my ears.
And you're like,
and I was it kind of helped me be okay, that is crazy.
No, that's me as fuck. Actually, when I did the podcast with Melissa, I was fucking dying. My camera cut out 12 times.
Oh yeah, no, her setup is way crazier than this. It took me so long. I had a mic and stuff, and I was it took us 45 minutes to set up, and they were I was I'm so sorry, and they were it's fine. This happens every time. So
she did say that. She was it literally happens every single time, and I was you're just saying that to make you feel better.
No, I think it does. I've done a few of those. Yeah, this is super easy. I was oh, it works. Cool.
Oh yeah. That's what I like to be.
Yeah.
Same. Slay. Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself. I obviously know who you are, but for anybody who's watching from my audience who doesn't, who the heck are you?
I'm Carter Cruz, and I guess if you think about what I do, I've lived many lifetimes. After college, I had a little stint in the porn industry, and kind of, I don't know, did that for a few years. And then I started DJing, which I had been doing since before. I like to clarify that. Not a porn star turned DJ, DJ turned porn star, and then back to DJing. So I've been DJing, and now I have a sex podcast. So yeah, just very many lives all over the place.
Oh yeah, I love that for you. What a fucking cool life, honestly. Doing so many fun things.
Yeah, try to keep it interesting. I have a tendency to get a little bored, so always need new challenges.
Same. Yeah. Same. I think that's a good thing to be, is you never want to be too bored for too long, especially for women. Women always collect hobbies till we die. I've never met a 60-year-old woman who's not and I just started a crocheting class. They're always doing something new.
I always say I will never be bored because there's always something to learn. I feel when my parents retired, they were oh, what are we gonna do? Or we're not gonna have anything to occupy us. And I was I would love to be retired. I could fill every second of every day if I had zero responsibilities. I would always keep it interesting.
I'm collecting weird expensive hobbies, they're fucking Pokemon cards. I've gotten into aquascaping for some reason this year.
What is that?
It's where you take an aquarium. It's where you take an aquarium and you make it aesthetic on the inside.
Oh my god, cute!
And stuff.
I love that.
It's so very Pisces of me. Get into that randomly as fuck. But now I have a million fish tanks. It's what am I doing?
I love that. It's do you ever make fairy houses as a kid?
Yes, yeah, it's just like that.
I love doing those outside, building little caves, and oh my god, me and my sister would have whole villages in our yard.
Me too. And I would get literally devastated if there was a rainstorm. I'd be this is a natural disaster. You don't understand. My city's been decimated.
So it's the more adult version of that. I get that. I love that.
Yes. Yeah. And actually my fish, this is not making me sound like a good aquascaper, but my fish tank did explode a few months ago, truly combusted, out of nowhere. I was so shocked. I was literally so surprised. I didn't know they could do that. The glass was too thin and I put too much stuff in it, which I didn't know.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Possible. And luckily all my fish lived. I just had 2 fish in there and they were fine. I still have them in a different tank.
Oh, were you there when it exploded?
Yeah, I was upstairs and my boyfriend has crazy good hearing and he was I hear water dripping, and I was really? I don't hear anything. So if it was just me, my fish would have definitely died. And he was let's go check it out. We went downstairs and there was so much water and sand everywhere. The fact that it had sand in it made it so much worse.
Oh my god, yes.
Terrible.
And were they just flopping around? Oh my god,
yeah,
I would have freaked out.
Oh my god! Yeah, they luckily the sand created a little puddle that they were flopping in. So that's probably the only reason they didn't die. But getting that out of my floors was like truly like horrendous
Yeah,
though.
I know, I
It
can
was a
imagine.
nightmare for me. And then
Well,
I
you
was like, I
saved the
have to
fish.
rebuild. I
Yeah.
have to rebuild the fish tank. And my boyfriend was like, "Do you?" And I was like, "Yes, I do."
Maybe
Because
use
I'm into
rocks
aqua
next
games.
time. Or I don't know, maybe
That's what I did.
sand is like at least sand you could vacuum it though. I don't know. Once
Yeah,
it
that's what
dried.
I was thinking. But
Yeah.
he was like, "No more
No.
sand after that." So I was like, "Okay." So I got rocks.
Next time he's just gonna have to pick up all the rocks for you though, because you're gonna be like, I can't vacuum. So
That's what I'm saying. I was like, think ahead, Kylan. Think about it. And he was like, I don't think it's gonna explode again. I feel like that was
yeah.
crazy the first time. And I was like, you never know.
Yeah, now you
You
know.
never know.
So hopefully you can avoid that in the future. I'm sure your fish are hoping the same thing.
Right? Like I'm like, what a freaking like traumatic event for my fish. Oh my God. They were in an explosion? What the hell?
Just like you just get sucked out, like
Yeah.
suddenly
That's like
can't
getting
breathe.
sucked out into like the vacuum of space, like in
Yeah.
space movies. That's like what
Yes.
that's probably like for them. Oh my
Except instead of
God.
having no gravity, they have like gravity suddenly.
Yes,
Like
all of a sudden they're like, I weigh so much. What the hell? That's actually so much worse than
yeah.
like, that's so much worse than being like light and being like, I weigh nothing, but I'm suffocating and freezing to death.
Yeah.
Instead, you're like, I'm suffocating and freezing to death, and I'm 1,000,000 pounds? Fuck?
You're like
You're just like, it's so hard to breathe already and have a weight on me. This is fucking terrible. This is giving me a lot to think
yeah.
about as far as my fish are
they,
concerned.
they might need some therapy,
I'm
just
like literally thinking that. I'm like, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna be like Goth, because my goldfish is like a big black goldfish, so I named him Goth. I'm gonna be like, Goth, what do you need, buddy?
yeah.
Like that was a lot. Like, I don't know, you need extra treats? Do you need like more friends? I'm not sure what to do
Do
for
they even
you.
like remember? I don't know.
Apparently, goldfish, like the stereotype is that they have really short memories, but
Right.
apparently they actually don't have super short memories, which just means all the people keeping them in a little bowl being like, they forget
Yeah.
every time they circle around, probably just had like mentally ill fish from being in like solitary confinement. Because
100%.
fish are like serially really like abused animals because like
I
people don't realize how
know.
much space they need and stuff. So I have a lot of small fish because like that way I don't have to
They
like
really
worry about
do. I had
not
one
giving them
fish
enough.
in college. They like gave us like beta fish in my sorority for like big little night. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking fish, but like I was vegan. So like I got to take care of this thing and it was like my
Yeah.
responsibility. I didn't ask for it, but I'm like, okay. And everybody else like, just kept them in those little bowls and they all died and I was like, this is so fucked up. I like researched beta fish. I'm like, okay, they're tropical fish. They need warm water. So I got like a little water heater. I got a big ass tank. I got little stuff for it to hide in. And I
Oh
had
my
that fish for a couple of years. I finally took it home at one point and my mom had it for a while. His name was Horton. But I
God.
loved Horton. And I guess beta fish can recognize your face. So if you feed them every day, they like come up to the thing. And I was like, I fell in love with that fish. And when he did finally die, I was so distraught. And I was like,
You're like,
he,
this is
yeah,
terrible.
but like I didn't even want him, but like I did get attached to him, and I think he lived a good life, so much better than everyone
True.
else's. I was like, you guys can't just be giving fish to college freshmen, like
True.
it's
You
like
can't
they're
just be giving fish away.
yeah, like,
That's a fact, actually. That's like when people bring like puppies to campus and they're like, "Who wants a puppy?" And I'm like, "No, these people shouldn't have puppies yet.
no,
Like
not
this
at
is
all.
too early for a puppy. They're in
Yeah.
a dorm. You want a puppy in a dorm? You're
Yep.
crazy. You're
And
insane."
then they never train them, and they're just like shit and piss
The
everywhere, and it's like
craziest dog ever.
yeah, and you're like, can't even be mad at it. Like you never taught it. That's
Yeah.
like a person. You just let it like be feral. Like of course it's
No,
not gonna like
seriously. I'm like, that's like keeping a man in like a jail cell from birth and then being like, why isn't he normal? What the heck's wrong with this
they're
guy?
not,
He's the worst.
they don't always end up normal even when they do have good upbringing.
I know.
So
That's, oh my God, I know. Actually, that's so in line with like our first
yeah.
topic. Okay,
Good little
I'm getting this
segue.
transition. Okay, the Queen of Atahan is like what this story is like
Okay.
typically known as. I'm very interested to see like your reaction to this because personally, this is my worst nightmare, like actually. So during World War II, there was like a bunch of people on like different islands and stuff that were like in sort of neutral areas where it's like either side, like Axis or Allies, could be coming into that territory at any moment. You really don't know. So like a lot of those people tried to like not get heavily involved. And there was this one island in particular, super tiny, but it was like a farming island. So it literally had like probably like 50 people on it during the day tops, and most people would leave at nighttime. So there would only be like a couple, like two people, a man and a woman, who actually lived there full time because it was so small, and everybody else would just boat in and out. So there was this one woman on the island, the wife, who was super young. She was like 19 when all of this started. She got married really young. She was like super isolated on this island. She was kind of annoyed about that, but she loved her husband. So she was like, whatever, slay. We got to do our farming bag. It's fine. Anyway, World War II breaks out. Her husband's like, oh no, like my sister is like stuck in like a neutral territory. I need to try and get her out. So she's like, do what you gotta do, bae. So he leaves the island to go get his sister, but then he never comes back. So she's just stuck on this island by herself, and World War II is breaking out around her. So she's like, okay, whatever, like I'll just do what I normally do every day. And there was a guy who worked at the farm, and he was like a manager. So he was like, okay, like I'll hang out with you and like make sure that you're not like too bored or whatever. I don't really
Right.
trust you around like the rest of the guys on the island, but they were actually friends. So she was like, cool, sounds sick. Then one day a plane crashed nearby, and it had a bunch of soldiers from Japan who were in World War II. So they converged on the island because like they obviously need to get out of the water so that they would survive and stuff.
Right.
So all of a sudden there's 30 men on this island, and the island had since been like slowly getting less and less people coming out to work because of World War II.
Right.
So at this point it was just the manager and the wife, who still didn't know where her husband was, and then suddenly 30 Japanese soldiers,
Oh my god.
all men, on this island.
That's terrifying.
Yeah,
That is
so
my worst nightmare as well.
it is, right? Okay, so like the manager immediately, he's like, we have to hide you
Yeah.
because like you're the only girl on this island. He's a real one for that. So he's like, you stay in the house, don't come out. I'm gonna pretend I'm the only one who lives here, and I'm just gonna say I'm your husband in case like they know who actually owns the island.
Right.
And so, because like they didn't know like if it was an invasion or what, like they didn't know immediately that they had crashed, and that's why
Right.
they had come to the island. So he's like, I don't know what's happening. Maybe they're gonna make this an outpost. Who knows? So he goes out there. He's like talking to all of them. They're actually being pretty chill about the whole thing. So
Right.
he's like, cool.
They're
We're
probably
like
happy to be
growing out.
alive, right?
Yeah, they're like, we made it. What
Yeah.
the heck?
And there's
Yeah.
someone here that can like, help
It's
us a
even
little bit.
better. Like maybe he can help us like contact our higher ups. We can get out of here. Like exactly. So they're just like having a good old time. But then like our girl, again, she's like 19. She's been stuck on a freaking island for the last like few years. So after a few days and hearing that like, oh, all the guys are like really nice, she starts getting like curious. Like, okay, maybe I can make some fucking friends for once.
Right. I
And
can't
so
blame
she's
her.
like creeping out. Yeah, honestly. So she's like creeping out. And like the manager's getting like more and more paranoid about this because he's like, I don't know that they're that chill.
Right.
You know?
They're chill
Like, yes,
now, but
they're nice to me.
there's not a woman here, so it's a little
Yeah, it's
different.
a totally different vibe, you know? And like who knows how long they've been deployed? Like they might not have been around like a woman in a while
Right.
as well. So she's creeping out, and all the guys are actually being really nice and respectful at first. And so she's feeling like, okay, you know what? I'm making some friends. And she actually makes a best friend who really missed his wife. He was like injured pretty badly. And so he was like recovering. So she was helping taking care of him. And he would just always talk about how much he loved his wife. And they were actually like homies for real.
Right.
We like him.
Right.
He stays chill the whole time.
Great.
Other than that, so she like, that's her first experience. She's like, okay, so like I can have real friendships with these guys. So she starts like trying to talk to more guys. And it's like not that vibe at all. They're not like, I miss my wife, I can't wait to get back to her. They're like, so what's up with you? You
Right.
know? But they think the manager's her husband because he's pretending to be him.
Ooh, that's
So they're
dangerous
all
for
being a
him.
little, yeah, they're all being a little distant from her out of respect, but they end up stuck on this island for a really long time.
How long?
Months and months are
Oh
going
God.
by. Yeah, like 6 months. And then they start to be like, you know what? Like, I don't know, like, why should he be the only one who has like a wife? Why should he be the only one who's getting to hook up with this girl every day in our faces? This is BS. Which, like, of course, is an insane way to think about anything. Like,
Yes.
that's a person.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. What are you
It's
fucking talking about?
it's not a
You know?
pocket pussy, okay?
Yeah, you don't get to just be like, why does he have the
Yeah.
toy? Like, that is
Yeah.
a woman, dude. She's alive.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, and also important detail, she was like 4'11". She was like super small.
Oh my
So
God.
there's like already the power dynamic, and then there's like a huge physical
Yeah.
component at play as well. She's really, the pictures of her next to these guys, she's like down to here on them.
Oh my
It's like
God.
truly horrifying stuff. So
Because even if
She,
you're strong, you can't.
right? And then
I
there's 30. What the hell?
yeah, no,
And
I've
they're all in the militaries. They're all like trained in combat. Like it's a terrible situation. So the guys, one in particular, starts getting like nosy. He's
right,
like, I want to figure out like what's really up with this relationship. Like how close are they? You know,
right,
could I like steal her? So
right.
he starts like going through her stuff. Like he goes into their house and goes through her stuff. And
Jeez.
he finds her wedding photo with her actual husband.
Right. Oh
And he
no.
finds out this guy is not her husband. And he's been lying to them for months about being her husband.
To protect her, but of
Yeah. And like, so
course they'll
he's
use
not
that
even
as
thinking about that.
yeah.
He's just like, he's a freaking liar, dude. Around this same time, they had recovered some of the wreckage from like their ship or whatever. And they discovered a gun in the
Oh
ship.
no.
Before
Oh.
that, no one had any weapons. They'd lost all of them.
Oh geez.
So at about the same time, they find out this guy's lying, and also they suddenly have a weapon for the first time. So you could what? Okay.
that was that guy's reaction. He was like,
He was like,
"Yay!"
yay! All panning out, just like planned. That was crazy though. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, for anyone who's an audio listener, balloons just randomly filled the screen. But so yeah, like he obviously goes and like shoots this guy. He like kills him. And then everybody else
Oh,
is
he
like,
just does it right away.
yeah, he just does it right away. He
Oh,
wastes no time. All the
jeez.
other guys are like, what the fuck? You
Yeah.
know, why did you do that? And he's like, well, he was a liar, is the thing. And they're all like, okay, like we see the pictures, like, yeah, he was lying, but also like you can't just start killing people on the island. We're all
Yeah.
stuck on the island together.
Yeah.
You know, the implications of that are pretty
Right.
concerning.
Yeah.
I don't love that. And so they're like, you need to have a punishment. And he's like all ashamed now. So he's like, you're right, I totally do. So they decide that his punishment should be seppuku, where you stab yourself in the stomach and
Oh
kill yourself.
God. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. So he does it, which is like crazy that he was willing to go this far. And then he's immediately like, actually, I'm tapping out of everything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
That's so interesting. How do you jump from like I'm gonna do anything? I don't know. It just
It just seems a little like out of left field, you know. Maybe he was just worried they were all going to team up on him. Like that's probably the case, but still, I don't know. It
even
just
then,
seemed
I
like
feel like I'd rather go down that way than doing it myself. I just stabbing if they
right.
go against you, you'd probably end up getting shot or something.
Exactly. And he's the only one with a gun, so he
Yeah.
probably only has like 6 bullets or whatever,
Right.
but still.
Or just shoot yourself. Worst
Yeah,
case. I don't
true.
know.
True. Yeah. True. I think he was doing it for like to regain his dignity or whatever, but
Right.
still, I mean, at this point, anyway. So then obviously shit is like super weird on the island because now our girl is effectively like single in the eyes of these guys for the first time.
Right.
And the seal has been broken as far as murdering people over her.
Right.
So the gun starts getting passed around, and then in short order, like 6 people get killed magically with the gun, and then every single time somebody gets killed, somebody else goes like, "Oh, she's gonna be my wife now." So she has like no say in this. They're just like deciding that they're like married to her,
Yeah.
and there's no like ceremony or anything either. Like you know what it's about. So
Yeah.
she's just like suffering. Obviously, like, this is a fucking terrible situation for her. And then finally, the guys come to what should have been a more like logical yet still insane conclusion. Like it surprised me that it took them like 2 years to come to this conclusion, but they realize, wait a minute, we keep killing each other over this girl, but if there's no girl, we won't keep killing each other.
Oh wow, that's dark.
It's very dark.
It's like
So
what
not
you
only
could just not kill each other over the girl. You could just
exactly.
it's so but they're like we must it's that kind of like we need to remove temptation so that it's like when they tell girls like you can't wear like oh that shirt is like too revealing or whatever and it's like or what was she wearing when she got assaulted? It's like it's your fault for existing, and that it's not the
Yes.
men's fault for not having any fucking self-control, Oh
You
God.
really can't stop killing each other. You got to kill her so you stop killing each other. That's
This
crazy.
is like
Just
the extreme.
decide.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
It's
Holy
the most
shit.
extreme example of like
Right.
victim blaming
Yes.
ever, probably in history. Like
Right.
truly, it's crazy. So like then she also has been wising up to the fact that like the vibes are shifting towards her. So she goes and hides in the forest for like 3 months.
Oh
And she
wow.
like survives evading
Badass.
them the whole time. Yeah, she's super sick. Eventually World War II ends. So people realize like, whoa, there's people on this island. We should let them know like the war is over. So
Right.
they start flying over, dropping flyers like, hey, the war's over. You know, we'll come pick you up from the island if you want. And the guys on the island, they don't believe it. They think it's a lie. They think it's a psychological warfare tactic to get them to rush out
Mm,
to the beach so that they'll all get shot down.
right.
So for another 2 years, they're getting these flyers. People are driving by with boats being like, hey, you can leave. Like, we're not going to kill you. They're not buying it at all. In the meantime, our girl somehow gets in contact with one of these boats. So she still is hiding on the
Right.
island, but she's communicating with them and she's like, I'm the only woman here. They're gonna murder me. Like, I've
Yeah.
got to get out of here. And she's talking to the captain of this ship's wife, and they become friends, even though there's like a language barrier. It's actually a very beautiful,
Oh,
like, form
need
of
a
female
she
friendship.
need a girly girl. Yeah.
Yeah, she
I
needed
love
a
that.
girl's girl to like help her out. Yeah, and she eventually they sneak her off the island before later, like I think like a year to 6 months later, they end up convincing the guys to get off the island, but they snuck her off first, luckily.
Right. Oh my
Where this
God.
really
Can't believe
gets
she got out
crazy,
of this. It's
I
insane.
know. Where this really gets crazy, and I really want to see like your reaction to this, is this story quickly becomes like part of the media news cycle because it's like so horrifying,
Right.
obviously. And so everybody's calling her the Queen of Atahan, which was like the name of the island, and saying that they're making it sound like she was like some sort of like temptress who was
Right.
controlling all 31 men rather than being like somebody who's being objectified and like passed around quite literally through a death chain
Yeah.
to
Except
all of the men.
right.
And they make it out like she's like this mass manipulator. She has like crazy riz. All of the guys were worshiping her on the island, which is like obviously like totally contrary to what like actually occurred.
Right.
And then, of course, naturally, people are hearing this story and they're like, well, what does she look like? She's got to be like some sort of goddess. And so they start printing photos of her.
Oh,
She is like a good looking woman. She is a normal woman, you
right.
know? Like, you wouldn't look at her and be like, yikes, or anything like that, which is
Right.
still a fucked up reaction regardless. But
Right.
like, truly, if you look at her, you're going to be like, yeah, that's like a cute, like 20-year-old, whatever,
Right.
you know? But everyone immediately, she got like crazy backlash of people just being like, she's not hot enough for all of this. So not only did she experience all this trauma, but now people are saying that
But
she
she's
wasn't
not
even
hot.
hot enough for the trauma.
God. That is can you imagine like living through all of that and you're just like, damn, I fucking survived. And then people are going to go, not like, wow, you survived this. And like, it's just, you're not hot. Like that is
Yeah, it's just like, and you're not hot for any of it. What
like,
the fuck?
honestly, like probably think if she was hotter, maybe she wouldn't have lasted as long. You know what
No,
I'm
honestly,
like?
probably
Like, I
if
don't
she
know if
really
that would
was
work.
pulling the strings, like if she was trying to puppet master these guys, they probably would have killed her within a week,
Right.
you
No,
know?
exactly. I feel like her being more normal. Yeah. No, if she was like some devastatingly, like, where people were just like, I've never seen a woman like this. I mean, it might have gone down first night that she came out,
Yeah,
but if she looks
exactly.
like a normal, they're like, oh, she has a husband. They like, because I think sometimes when like women are like more, and more of like, beautiful in that way, men will become
Mhm.
more violent like more quickly, so I don't know if
Yeah.
that would even have, yeah, that would not have been good for her.
No, seriously, I completely agree because like one, when somebody fits like a conventional Eurocentric beauty standard,
Right.
it makes it a lot easier to like relate that person to not being real, like
Right.
relate them to like a
A
cartoon or
doll
like
or like, yeah.
pictures that you've seen of like models and stuff, which like models are obviously real people, but a lot of men
Right.
especially have a cognitive dissonance there because they're only seeing them in like a two-dimensional format. And I think for her, the fact that she was like super tiny, the fact that she was like really shy and like slowly started coming out to like meet the guys and stuff, and she befriended like the guy who loves his wife first and stuff. I think all of that really like extended her chances. Whereas if she
100%.
had come out and been like really powerful and like tall and like tenacious and being like, you do this for me, you do that for me, they would have killed her so freaking fast,
So much
dude.
faster. Yeah. And I think that when guys see you as kind of like that girl next door, they like have more like respect for you, If they could
Yeah.
have justified, thought that she was slutty, then
Yeah.
that would have, if then they would have had less respect for her from the beginning, which is Yeah, and it's 100% that two-dimensional type of thing. If someone looks like someone you've never seen before, or you only see people with, I don't know. I mean, I deal with that all the time, obviously. So that kind
I
of
know, that's
like,
why I wanted to know your opinion on
yeah.
this, because this is like, I bet you experience this same kind of bullshit all the time.
It's interesting how many times like, guys will like slide in the DMs and say off the wall shit. I'm just like, dude, would you walk up to like a woman on the street and say this? And you
And it's
think
like,
that
no.
and you think that it's like, okay, it's only these weird incel guys or whatever, but honestly, sometimes they're like very normal people, and or like, I guess, normal in the sense of like probably none of their friends and family would ever expect them to be that type of person. It's not like the
Yeah.
kind of guy you go, obviously they did that.
They're a little
And
bit of a sleeper agent
right,
where
and
you just
it's
wouldn't see it coming.
right, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like, do you like you should that's why when guys are like, "Oh, like none of my friends are problematic." I'm like, I would go through and look at what DMs they send to random girls that they don't know on the internet, and then you can
Yeah,
decide.
facts.
But a lot of times when, sometimes I like don't respond or anything, but every once in a while, like I do. And a few times I've just kind of like clapped back and said something like, this is like really out of line. And it's interesting how many times people will respond like, oh my God, they like didn't really expect you to respond. They probably thought
Yeah.
I'd never even see it. And then suddenly you're humanized. Now
Yeah.
suddenly you're not just this character that you played in like a porno or whatever. Now you're like a real person who's like, hey, that kind of is like really harsh and hurtful. And like, kind of, and I'll be like real about it. Like sometimes I'll be like more aggressive if I'm like feeling like
Mhm.
feisty, but sometimes I want to just point out to them because I'm like, I feel like this person doesn't really realize what they're doing. To them, they're just
Yeah.
sending this like message off to like someone they'll never meet. It doesn't feel real. And they're not realizing that for me, it is real. Like I'm a regular person and I wake up in the morning and that's not a pleasant message to wake up to. And suddenly
Yeah.
it's so interesting how quickly a lot of them will respond, like change really quickly and be like, I'm so sorry. I never thought you'd see this. Like, I'm actually a fan. And I'm like, well, then why the fuck did you send me this?
Yeah, and you're like, then why would you say that?
Yeah,
Exactly. It's like you pop their bubble by having like a normal ass response. Because like a
right,
normal person, if you walked up to like a lady on the street and you said some of the things that like I'm sure people are saying to you, then they would be like, hey, what the hell?
right.
That wasn't nice. Why did you say that to me? Why did you say that to me?
Yeah,
What's wrong with you?
yeah,
And then they're like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm disgusting. And
yeah.
then for some reason in their mind, like they think they're gonna send like something that's either like overtly sexual or even just really aggressive, just like
Right.
really rude.
Mean.
And that
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, oh, like I actually really like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just said no one ever. Like, what's happening?
I'm like, I mean, the people will be like, slide in and be like, oh, can I take you on a date or something? Okay, yeah, maybe that's like wild. Probably would like never happen. But at least it's like, I don't know. You have like,
It's at least
it's at
nice,
least
it's like
positive. Yeah,
forward,
yeah. But like
but it's
sometimes I'm just like,
nice.
aggressively like, you're like annoying and I don't know, just like nitpicking something about my physical appearance or whatever. And I'm just like, geez, like, would you go up
Yeah.
to literally anyone in your life, like, and just say something like this? Not even like a strange woman, even like someone you're friends with or whatever. It's just like you wouldn't speak like this to any human being. It's only because it's on the internet and you don't see me as a real person. And I feel like for this girl, that's like the response that people would get. And anytime anyone comments on someone's, I don't know, physical attractiveness in the media like that is just really like fucked up because
It's so messed up
it's
and
really unnecessary.
unnecessary.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that's like the problem is it's so like needless and yet it happens all the time.
right. No,
Yeah,
100%.
I just had like my first experience where like the internet was talking about my body in like a big way. Cause like normally I'm like a talking head, you
Right.
know? And like sometimes like if I'm wearing a low cut shirt, people talk about my boobs and stuff. Like one
Mhm.
guy did like a year ago make a compilation of every video of mine where you can see the top of my boobs.
You do
And
have
I was
nice
like,
boobs.
yeah, thank you. Slay, you too. But I was like, okay, whatever. Like, and he tagged me in it. So I was like, I appreciate the tag, I guess. Like you're
Right.
not hiding it from me. But like this week I made a video on like my lifestyle account, which is where I just put like random shit. Like it's like outside of my normal content style.
Right.
And there was that audio that was like trending that was like all this work and what did it get me? Why did I do it? So I did that about like when you clean your kitchen and then someone makes like a sandwich, puts like a
Oh
knife
yeah,
in
I
the
saw
sandwich.
I saw that one. It was
Yeah,
I laughed because I was like, I've been there.
so relatable, right? Like I was just trying to make a relatable meme. Goddamn. But I was wearing like a bodysuit and like so that you could see the sink, I filmed from like further back than I normally do because normally I just like hold my phone around. But I was like, I have to like dramatically like do this for it to like
Yeah.
fit the meme. And I didn't like really think about that at all, honestly, beyond just like getting the sink in. But because I was wearing a bodysuit, people who like normally don't really see my body on the internet were all seeing it for like the first time. And I don't think I have like a crazy build in particular or anything. I'm just kind of like skinny and lanky,
Yeah.
you know? But it got so many like views of just people talking about that and like arguing with each other. That's like what really surprised me is
What were
that
they
people
arguing
were
about?
they were arguing about whether or not it was like a thirst trap. They were arguing about whether or not it was body checking, which like I've never been accused of body checking before, so I was really like
Wait, what is body
surprised.
checking?
Body checking, I learned from this,
Oh,
is like it I had to ask my therapist about it.
okay.
It's a thing that like people who have EDs do where like in real life body checking looks like constantly like looking in the mirror, doing things
Right,
like can you put your finger around your wrist, seeing like can you put your fingers in your collarbone, stuff like that where it's like very specific like metrics of measuring your body either with like a literal measuring tape or with like other parts of your body,
right,
you know? And you do it, it's like a compulsion, so you do it like throughout the day compulsively, so it's like a repeated behavior.
right,
Online what it looks like is people repeatedly make videos of them like standing in specific like unnatural ways to like get a look at their body,
right,
or using like other objects. Like there was like a trend on doing where people would take like a piece of paper and put it in front of their torso to see if like it was their torso would go beyond the borders of the paper or not. So like that's like a form of like body
right, right,
checking,
right,
stuff
right.
like that. Or like how wide is your thigh gap, measure with your fingers, stuff like that. Which like is certainly not what I was doing. I was
It
just
doesn't even,
standing there.
yeah, that doesn't even make sense. Like, it doesn't, you just make a video where you can see your body and suddenly it's all about
Yeah,
that.
and everyone was pissed off about it. And so this one girl was going in so hard on me, which I was disappointed it was a girl too. She was going in so hard on me about it because I was like, oh, like that's not what I'm doing. And she said, well, you're like adopting an unusual stance and wearing like a sexy outfit, which like everything from my wrist to my ankles was covered, first of all.
Right.
Secondly, I have a fused spine. I have my whole spine is metal because I had spinal surgery. So I can't bend. So I was like, I'm standing like an NPC because that's the only way I can fucking
Right,
stand.
and people don't know any of that stuff about you and they're just going to project their own. But I mean, the thing
Yeah.
is, even if you were doing that, even if you
Yeah.
had been, to criticize someone, if someone's doing that, probably they have an eating disorder and they need, that
They need some help,
jumping on them on
maybe
the
have some
internet.
anger
Yeah, like
and
that's not, it's
kindness.
not going to do anything good for them, like I would just keep my mouth shut, or if you want to offer support, or otherwise just keep your mouth shut. But it's just like the weirdest thing to get angry at someone for having,
Yeah.
for potentially having like an eating disorder, like, like
I know. I was like, God, like, what if I did? And like, yeah, that's like the thing with the internet and like women online. It brought in like a whole different like audience that I'm generally not like exposed to. And then
right,
so many men were coming in being like, oh, like confusing me for somebody. I guess I look like someone on OnlyFans or whatever, because they
right,
were all like, yeah, but you post on OnlyFans every single day. What do you expect? And I was like, but I don't post on OnlyFans every single day.
right,
And if I did post on OnlyFans every single day, I would still expect like basic human decency. I don't know.
right,
What the
right.
hell?
No, that what do you expect is like such a crazy response. I like get that all the time. Like
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
just
like,
be
I don't
like,
know,
"Hey,
kindness.
yeah, I'll just like post something like, about like decriminalization and like, just like, pro sex work
Mhm.
and just about like supporting and them deserving basic human fucking rights, which everyone does. And people will be
Yeah.
like, well, of course people disrespect sex workers. Like, what do you expect? I'm like, that's not even like a logical reasoning for it. Like, of course, like you're naked on the internet. Of course people don't respect you. Like that, where does that line up?
It's so strange. I really truly like I don't get like I do, but I don't get the aggression towards female sex workers. And like why I say I do is I get it because a lot of men are just mad seeing women profit off something that they feel
Yes.
like they should get for free.
Yes.
That's like what I get about it.
Hmm.
But what I really don't get about it in general is just like these women are performing a service that is like incredibly necessary for a lot of people.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people who like don't leave the house. There's a lot of people who have hard times making connections with other people
Hmm.
or are just like lonely. There's a loneliness epidemic. And like these women are performing like a very necessary, like very human service for you. Not you in particular, but like for anybody. And like, yeah, they're entitled to get their cut. So like why are you upset if you're consuming this content every single day? Like,
Right.
it's like the guys who are like, every time I get on Instagram, all I see is ass and titties. And it's like, well, sir, I hate to break it to you, the algorithm's feeding you what you're interacting with.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why you're seeing that. And why are you mad then? Because clearly that's what you like. Why can't you just like that you like that?
Right, exactly. Just be okay with it. Yeah, I don't really understand it. So
It's so odd.
I had something I was gonna say and I just completely lost. My brain just went relating to that. We were talking about that.
We're talking about men are
The,
mad that you make money off of something they think they should get
oh
for
yeah, oh about
free.
it being such an important service. I feel like I was talking to my friend about this the other day because it's like, well, based like the story you were just telling me, when you have a bunch of men alone with like no way to like get off, like obviously like it breeds a lot of like violence, like hatred, like it's not a good thing. And you can't that but you don't just deserve it. So the idea, like to me, I think that society as a whole would be so much better if we were so much more like positive about sex work, like
Mhm.
make it, decriminalize it. Because first of all, I mean, it's crazy that it's criminalized. At the end of the
It
day, it's
is.
your body. I think you should be able to do whatever you want with your body. Like I can do it. I can go out and have dinner with a guy, and he pays for dinner, and then I go have sex with him, and that's fine. But if he gave me cash on top of it, then suddenly it's not fine. Like that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah,
It's only trying to basically marginalize sex workers. That's the only thing it does, because it doesn't ever get
absolutely.
rid of sex work. It doesn't get rid of any kind of transactional sex. It just makes it harder for sex workers to actually get paid, to have any kind of like rights, to be able to,
Safety.
yeah, safety, all those things. It just makes it harder for the sex workers. That's the only thing it really does, and it doesn't like get rid of it. And I feel like if society was more encouraging of it and like, oh yeah, like sex work is a good thing. It's like we do have a loneliness epidemic, and instead of being like, ooh, that guy is weird and gross because he doesn't, he can't go out and talk to women, and so he has to, like, then we start putting it on them, like, oh, they're gross and nasty because we think of sex work as nasty. And it just like is all this hatred and over something that really is just like, it's just better if that guy can go and pay someone to get laid so he feels better, and now
Then fine.
that woman can feed her family.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing bad that came out of that. And if it was
Yeah.
not criminalized, it'd be so much easier for people to have to vet people and to require testing, because like right now all that stuff
Yes.
is kind of difficult because a lot of clients are nervous to be vetted because they don't want
Mhm.
any kind of like, they don't want
They
any
don't want it coming
proof.
back on them.
Right,
But the
because
thing is, like, if it was normalized, it wouldn't matter if it
right,
came out. Like,
right,
no one would
exactly.
care.
Right.
No one would care at
I mean, like, yeah,
all.
if you're married and like cheating, then yeah, maybe, but like that's your own
Yeah.
decision,
I think
like,
that also, I think that's like a big part of like the stigma too, especially from like the female perspective. A lot of
mm-hmm.
women don't want sex work to be legal because they feel like threatened that like, oh, it's going to encourage your boyfriend to cheat. But the reality is, if your boyfriend's going to cheat, he's going to do that. And I personally, I would obviously rather not get cheated on in general, but if sex work was legal and women were given access to like medical care, the people going in were vetted, so like it was a lot safer, a lot healthier. We didn't have to worry about like a consensual paid encounter turning into like a violent essay or like
Right.
people spreading STDs or STIs unnecessarily and things like that. I would much rather have somebody cheat on me with somebody who I
Right.
know is like clean and like got paid and like it's not
And right,
personal.
it's not, they're not gonna like be hitting him up, like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Rather than it being like some random person might have like HPV or something, like you
right,
don't know, like, did your boyfriend even check? And then
right.
he came home and hooked up with you. Did he even check, like, what's going on here? Like, what's the emotional connection? Like, like it's not the sex worker's fault if your boyfriend's a bad boyfriend.
No, it's really not. Yeah, like they're not going out and hunting him down, like he obviously
No.
went out and looked for it. And I do think that women, some of the most, like actually one of the most hateful people I've ever had on the internet, like really come after me, was a girl. And
Wow.
yeah, I know. I was like, oh my God. And it was crazy. She
That
was like
sucks.
this normal like sorority girl, like just got married. So I like get these weird tweets one day, right? This, it was like, and they were really aggressive, like, like just hateful, and I
Where
was
you're like,
like,
do I know her?
yeah, I was
Why is
like,
she so upset?
right. I was like, what's going on here? Like, and so I just kind of like ignored them for a while, but they just were so out of line. Like I had never, and then I'm like, so I kind of start looking at her thing, and then she on Christmas Eve one year, it was like my first Christmas or my second Christmas in LA, I guess, but I was spending it like by myself, which I thought wasn't like that big of a deal because I'm not like a big Christmas person. But
Yeah.
turns out like being alone on Christmas kind of sucks because you can't like order food. There's nowhere to go. No one's
Yeah.
texting back. No one's posting on social media because everyone's like with their families. And I was like, oh, this is kind of like you're really alone
Terrible.
because I like being
Yeah.
by
I've
myself. So
also done an alone Christmas during football season. Kylan had like a football game on Christmas, so I couldn't leave Indiana, and he was home, or he wasn't home till like 3 in the morning, and I was like, I can't DoorDash
yeah,
anything. No one can hang out with me. This sucks.
yeah, it was like way worse than I thought. So I had a lot of like
Yeah.
free time. And this girl just starts, she said like something about like she hoped like my like dad kills himself out of shame, right? Over
Oh
whatever.
my
And that like
God.
crossed a line that I was like not
Yeah,
cool with. Like,
obviously. What the hell?
say whatever you want about me, but first of all, my parents are awesome. Like they are super, intelligent, supportive, amazing parents.
Oh
And
yeah.
I would just like they're not like, they're kind of innocent. So, everything
I mean,
about who I am is
that's exactly what I expect your parents to be. You're very smart and intelligent and
thank
cool.
you.
Like naturally.
And
Yeah.
no, everyone's like meets them and they're like, okay, I kind of get how you like turned out, but I'm still kind of the black sheep of the family, like definitely the wild child.
Yeah.
But I just never want anything to like come back on them any more than it like has to.
Mhm.
And so I was just like so mad about this, and I had nothing but time, so I just started like diving into. I figured out her Facebook, and she just got married to this guy, and I was thinking, I was like, I bet she fucking caught her husband like jerking off to my
Um,
porn or something. Like
Probably.
that's because I was like, why is she so? Because the rest of her social media was like
It's so
normal.
normal.
And then it was like
Yeah.
specifically to me, these like crazy hateful. And I was like, okay, like I didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, first
Yeah,
of all,
so you're like, what's up?
there's
He
nothing
I couldn't
wrong.
see him. He could see me, but I wasn't doing it
Yeah,
for
I don't
him
even know who he
specifically.
yeah, I don't know who he is. And also like there's nothing wrong with your like partner like masturbating. I mean
Yeah, I agree.
obviously I think like it can get out of hand, like people rely on that too much, and it
Yeah,
does
if they have porn addiction,
yeah, and
because
it
like that is something that affects some people,
porn
but it's
addiction,
everyone's different
we
though.
should talk about that in another episode. Like,
We should
we could talk
actually,
about it when
because
you come on mine, because
yeah,
like I
actually
really
we
would,
should talk about it
because
when I
porn
come on
addiction is
yours.
kind of like an interesting, it's kind of, I don't know
It's
how
like
much
a newer concept that I've been
I
hearing people talk a lot about. I personally, like, I don't care. I've never been a very possessive girlfriend, to be fair. So I don't expect everybody to have the same mentality as me. Like, I know everyone's different, but I've never personally cared about it. I watch it. I sometimes I'll watch it with my boyfriend. I think that it can be like a cute, like, fun thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I
get
mean,
it out, bitch.
right? Yeah. Sometimes you can do it together. So it's like
Yeah,
maybe
like
instead of,
whatever.
I have so many like couple fans that be like, oh, like they love watching my shit
Yeah,
together. Like that's cool. Like so it's like you didn't need to be so. But I'm like, okay, she probably has some like insecurities about stuff. Obviously, probably has a very
yeah.
sex negative outlook. And I know like growing up in the South, I remember my first ever boyfriend in high school that I lost my virginity to. He told me like I had never watched porn. I was very interested in sex, so but I consumed a lot of like erotica or like
Yeah.
or just I would read like go to Barnes Noble and just like read sex books because I was more interested in like intellectually. And so it wasn't like I never really watched porn. I was like scared like that my parents
That's
would like
actually
find
so
out,
relatable. The Barnes and Noble. I was
yeah.
also doing like, well, let me see what's up.
Yeah, like I wanted to know about like fetishes. I was like so interested in
Yeah.
all this different stuff. Where was I going with this? Fuck.
Oh, the lady was angry.
Oh yeah, though.
And
Well, then
your
she
high school boyfriend.
Oh yeah, but he told me like, our first like, when we were first dating or whatever, he's told me like, "Oh, I don't watch porn or whatever." And it's funny because I was like, I I didn't care. Like I didn't ask
Yeah.
him, but I feel like he thought that like girls would
You would care
care.
about
Yeah.
that.
So he
Yeah.
like told me he didn't, but I mean at the time I just was like, okay, like whatever, but then now looking back at like some of the stuff that we like, he would ask for me to do. Like at the time, I had no idea that that was like porn related because I had never
Yeah.
seen it, like some of this very typical, like coming on a girl's face. Like, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Where you're like, you didn't just come up with
yeah,
that.
like you obviously watched some porn. And like, I mean, I don't think he was I think he was just like, trying to not like cause
Yeah,
problems or
he
whatever.
was trying to be a good boyfriend, honestly, because he just
Yeah.
said it unprovoked, like, "Hey, just so you know,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, he wasn't being
not
like a,
watching
he
it."
wasn't like being like a little like lying piece of shit. I think it was,
Yeah,
and I honestly don't think he probably was like a huge porn consumer. So,
yeah.
but he's a boy, of course, in
He's
high
probably
school,
he's
like,
dabbled. He
yeah,
has to have
and we
dabbled,
ended
you
up
know.
watching some together, like in college, and like kind of like, oh, let's watch some porn together. So,
Yeah,
we had like done a little bit of that, but I just thought it was funny that so obviously in the South, and this girl's from the South and had that very traditional kind of family upbringing. So I'm like, okay, she probably thinks terribly about this. She hates that and so she thinks of me as like some evil temptress, right? That's like,
yeah.
that's like, again, that it's my fault that he's horny, right? And that it's my
Exactly. It
fault
really
that,
has nothing to do with you.
right.
It's your fault he clicked on your thumbnail of all the thumbnails, you know, like, come
Yeah.
on.
I'd be like, honestly, I'd be like, you should tell your man he has great taste. So,
Right.
like, like, I feel like it could be a lot worse. Like, there, so,
Yeah, that's true. It could be like something strange that you don't know your partner's into that is hard for you to reconcile with.
yeah.
So just be down with the fact that he just likes cute blondes. That's the,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. That's like not
I
insurmountable
know,
by
maybe,
any means.
maybe she was like a brunette or something and she was like feeling some type of way about that. So,
Bleach it, girl. Bleach it. It's
yeah.
fine. Get it
Well,
done.
it was funny. So I actually, the culmination of that story is I was so pissed about this, and I found her, I found her Instagram through her Twitter, then found her Facebook, found her husband's parents, so her mother and father-in-law, found their
Yeah.
Facebooks, and I screenshot all the fucking crazy psychotic shit she had tweeted at me, and DM'd it to her mom and dad-in-law on Christmas Eve, and I said, hey, I don't, I'm sure that who I am and how I live my life is not something that you agree with. And, I'm not here to like try and like convince you, of anything. I was like, but I am actually concerned for your
Yeah.
daughter-in-law's like mental well-being, because I was like, I know you guys are Christians. I don't think this is the way that like Christians are supposed to act, and this honestly seems like a little concerning. Like I feel like she might need to talk
Yeah.
to I didn't really like
You're like, I'm stressed out for her.
yeah, like, she
Yeah.
needs help, like so like
Yeah.
condescending. And of course they never responded, right? But
Right.
I didn't really, so I like blocked that girl, never really thought about it again. But one of my friends had followed her because of when this all was going down. And so like I completely forgot about this. And I guess like a year later, she tweeted something that she was like, TBT, the time Carter Cruz ruined Christmas Eve or whatever. And I was like,
Oh my
oh,
God.
so I had never known if they had actually like, maybe they,
Disgusted as a family.
right, but I guess it actually did come out, and I don't know. I need to like
Oh my
hunt this girl
God.
down. I'm gonna be like, "You want to come on the pod? Like, let's talk
You
about
should
this."
invite her on the pod.
Like, we
What
can
if
like,
it turns out where she's like, I was mad at you because my boyfriend was talking to someone who's a catfish account of you, and
yeah,
I thought he was dating
right,
you?
right, yeah. Like, you never know. There might be some crazy like level, or maybe sometimes like people come into a realization later in life. Like,
Yeah,
when
where
I
they're like, that was whack. I don't know. I was going through
right.
something
Yeah.
there.
I was feeling some
Yeah.
type of way. And I mean, it's like when I got into porn, like in college, I was in a sorority, and like it was like not, they were not happy
Yeah.
about it. But so many of the girls, like this one girl, literally, like people kept thinking she was me. We don't really look like, we're just blondes. She's much
Yeah.
taller, beautiful girl. I was like, I'm personally flattered that people thought you were me, but she was younger than me, and she would like people come up to her at the bar and be like, "Oh my God, are you Carter Cruz?" Because everyone at my school knew.
Yeah, of course.
And she would like cry because she was so embarrassed that people like
Oh
thought that, and I actually
no.
felt really bad about it because
Yeah, you were like, I wasn't trying to like
right, and she
do
wasn't like,
that
she
to
was,
you.
yeah, and she wasn't being mean. She wasn't being like, that's disgusting. She was just like
Yeah.
embarrassed, and I'm like,
She's
and
just embarrassed because it's not like her personality.
right. And growing up
Yeah.
in the South, I understand that. I'm like, that's not, you didn't make that decision. I did. And I actually felt guilty about it. And when I was back visiting one weekend, she like came up to me and she was like, hey, like, can I talk to you for a second? And I was like, yeah, like, and I was like, oh God, she's going to be upset. And I was like, immediately, hey, I heard this was happening. I'm really sorry about that. I was like, that's not cool. And like, whatever. And she just goes, no, actually, like, I am a fan. And she was like, I love anal sex, and I've never been able to tell anyone that. And she's like very sexual person, and I feel like all this stuff that she liked, like she had been kind of keeping it to herself, and then
Oh my
me like
God.
being open and about this stuff, and so she wanted had so many questions, and
It
like
inspired her.
yeah, you know, and she was like
That's
so cute, and we like
amazing.
still keep in touch now and everything, and it's like adorable. So I'm like, that's why when people have that immediate like hatred reaction to like sex work
Yeah.
or sexuality, I try not to like immediately just be like,
Take it
right,
personally.
because I'm like,
Yeah.
this probably has so much to do with like all these things of how you were raised, all these expectations,
Yeah.
like all these things that are inside you that are not really like your fault, and you've never really been able to think outside of that. So instead of just like being a like super defensive, I'm going to
Being
be
like, hey,
like,
you don't know anything.
yeah.
Meh.
And then
Like,
that's, and then you'll get sometimes people that'll be like, oh my God, I never thought about it like that. Or wow, now I,
yeah.
you know, and I'd rather that than just like fight with people on the internet, you know? So,
Yeah.
although that
No,
can't be
that's
fun.
the right approach, I think. 'Cause, like with any sex stuff that like gets people all fired up, I feel like a lot of it is coming from like ignorance or like religious trauma or
Hmm.
like your parents. And so if somebody is immediately like, "Hey man, fuck you. I hope you die." You know, like then they're like, "I knew she was a demon. I knew
Right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
See, that's something a demon would say.
Right.
Like,
You're giving them
see how
confirmation
aggressive she
bias.
was?
Yeah.
She was so mean. She was so hot and mean."
Yeah. Yeah. It's that confirmation bias. And they're like, hell yeah, that's what they want. They want that rise out of you so that they can continue to justify,
Yeah.
you know, but
Did
I'm
people
over.
catfishes you a lot, actually? Because I always wonder that with like accounts like yours where people are like, she's a hottie, you know?
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. I don't take, I think it probably happens to me a little less, mostly because I don't post a ton of like you know,
Photos?
photos, like sexy pics, I guess.
Mm.
But I know a while back there was this really bad one. It was actually a company that was doing it, and I think that like I freaked out and like threatened to like, you know, like
Whoa,
have legal action
creepy.
and stuff. Yeah, but and the reason why I found out is because I had gotten hired by this company and they had me take all these like selfies, you know, and so no one else had those pictures except for this
And then
company.
they released them,
And it was
right?
this, yeah, it was this girl named Piper that was me, but like not me.
Right.
And I realized that all the stuff that they had been having me shoot like that day was all stuff to basically like, you know, scam people. And,
Damn.
you know, to a certain extent, I don't really like care too much. The main thing is that like when they come after like my friend, like it's weird, like, you know, because then
Yeah.
the main thing is I just get a million messages like every day from friends being like, oh, there's a fake account. And I'm like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that you're texting me about it is more annoying than the account,
Yeah.
because I'm like, you know, if you're gonna fall for that, like maybe you need that in your life, and like I don't know, I'm just not gonna spend my life like hunting down people who are like
You
scamming people.
can't.
Like I can't. But the Piper one I did get upset about because
It was
it
exclusive
well,
stuff.
and it was a lot of like long term talking to people, and
Oh,
so I
like
got
creating a real parasocial relationship.
right. And I got an email from a guy who was saying, so he had basically like asked another girl in the business, like, do you know who this is? Right.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, it's Carter Cruz, you know, because that was a picture of me. And so this guy got this like crazy email, you know, he was like, we've been talking for months and like, you know, all this stuff. I thought we had this whole like relationship and that he'd given me all this money. And I'm like, I have never spoken to you. I've never taken money from you, and that scared me because it's like you're putting me at risk, right?
Yeah.
Because
Because
if
what if he was upset about
right.
that?
Well, because it's like
Yeah.
if I'm running like say like I don't really do like OnlyFans like not the way that like most people do it with like sexting and that kind of stuff. But like even if I was doing that, that's my decision to like vet people and be like, okay, I can see if someone's getting a little too attached or whatever. But if that's a third party that has, but they're putting my image that is attached to, it's not like I'm some random person where I'd be like hard to find. It's like you could just
Yeah.
image search me and like
Search
figure
you.
out that it's
Yeah.
me. And now it's like you're putting all these like people that are like I don't know, like that scared the fuck out of me. I was like, I
Yeah,
do
that is
not like that.
scary.
Yeah, because I was like, I have no idea. Like this guy could be insane, and
He could be crazy. He could be like, you broke my heart. You took all my
right.
money. Like people, a lot of people have there's a lot of true crime stories about people having very negative reactions to things like that, you
Oh
know?
yeah, I know. I mean, I had a one like online stalker that was like, but I had never interacted with him. He
Mhm.
like came and it was actually really terrifying because it was just all online, but it was this huge joke with all my like friend group of girls in the music industry because he was like this weird guy on the internet who would respond to like all of our stuff. I didn't realize that it was all me. Like it was like
Oh,
anytime
you're
I
the common denominator.
yeah, I didn't realize that. So it was like this joke. Everyone would like, and then I never checked my email, like notoriously. And I like checked my email one day, like looking for something that I needed. And I realized that I have like hundreds of emails from this guy, like, and I'm like,
Whoa.
oh my God, like, oh no. And so I blocked him on everything because I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like before I was just ignoring. Then I blocked, but then that made him crazy. He
Yeah,
tried to
then it
hack
made it
all my
worse.
yeah, I tried to hack all my social media accounts. And then literally it was the scariest thing. I lived alone at the time in Hollywood, and my boyfriend at the time calls me one night. I had just gotten home, and he like calls me and he's like, "Hey, like where are you?" I'm like, "I just walked to my house." And he's like, "Okay, like don't freak out, but I think you need to pack a bag and you need to come over to my house like right now." And I was like, why? What's going on? And right then was when I started getting all these like, someone's trying to hack your account type thing. And I was like, what's going on? And he's like, just stay on the phone with me, like pack up your shit. And he's like, that guy had posted on his Instagram. There was like a McDonald's like around the corner from where I lived. It was crazy because I'd been there like a few nights before with a friend and posted a story,
Mhm.
but it was like so not like all my location
So
services are turned off.
innocuous.
Yeah, like I would never think you would be able to tell which McDonald's. Like I don't even know how this guy like figured it out. And he posted a picture at that McDonald's. Like this kid lived in Missouri and now he's in LA, a block away from my apartment, and was like, "Mommy was here a week ago." Because he'd always call me mommy. It was so weird.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I was like hyperventilating. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's gonna fucking kill me. Like, I'm like, I live by myself. I'm like
Yeah.
packing my shit. I like went and stayed with my boyfriend for like a week. But when I went into the police, they literally laughed at me. I was like crying. I was like, this guy like came all the way to LA. Like he's like walking around my neighborhood. Like I can't
Hmm.
even go, and I never drive. I always walk everywhere. So I was like, that's just so sus.
Yeah,
Like he
it's
could
so
so easily spot
stressful.
me. And the cops just like really laughed at me. They were like, just kind of like, oh, he's a fan. Like, how many followers do you have? Like, because I didn't want to
That's
tell them that
so
I was like a porn
ridiculous.
star. I didn't want to say that
Yeah.
because I was like trying not to. And I was like, okay, well, like, now I'm definitely not telling you guys. So I ended up hiring a private investigator and kind of like got it
Good.
squared away. So, I mean, I still get a text from him like once a year.
Yeah.
So just like, it'll be like
Yeah,
some
the
in,
stalker stuff is scary because, like, California has the most strict stalking laws in the country, and they were still laughing you out of the building, you know?
right,
Like, it is
exactly.
so hard to get, like, stalking litigation, especially with, like, digital stalking like that.
Right,
There's, like, no rules around that. I've had a few stalker problems that have gotten, like, very out of hand, and I also had to, like, figure out unique approaches
right,
to it because, like, it's just, like, there's really, like, nothing that you can do. And when people catfish my account, like I usually don't mind because like really all they're trying to do is get like video views on TikTok,
right,
like, which I'm like whatever. And like sometimes they'll like catfishes me and then put like them doing like slimes next to it, and then I'm like I care even less because I'm like honestly you're adding to the video, like whatever. But
right.
with like Facebook, I got like I never go on Facebook, like truly. I have one because like my parents are on there, so I keep up with it just for that. But like I really don't use it. And I logged in because my mom wanted me to like post a picture of her. And when I logged in, I had all these notifications from like this lady I didn't recognize, like so truly so many, and they were all so mean. Like they were brutal. My Facebook is like private, but I have like a public page on there
Yeah,
that like I don't put anything on really. And so it has like no followers. So I was like, this lady's posted like 500 times on this page that has like essentially nothing of
yeah.
me on here. Like, what the hell is happening? And they were all really long, really detailed, super like spiteful. And so I responded to one of them and I was like, hey, what's happening? Like, what did I do something? Like, what's going on? And like, she was saying stuff where she was like, you say that you're like a content creator on here or an influencer on here, but like, you have like 3 followers on here. And I was like, yeah, because like, this is just for my parents. Like, I just repost stuff on here for my parents who don't know how to like use TikTok that well. And like especially my dad, like my mom's better with TikTok, but like I was like it's just for that. But like also what does that have to do with anything? Like why are you yelling at me?
Right,
And then she was saying like these weird like cryptic comments that sounded like she was like referencing a specific incident between us.
right,
And I was like I don't know, like I truly let me just DM you. And I was like
yeah,
I actually don't know what you're talking about.
right,
I'm not messing with you. I literally have no idea what you're talking about. Can you just explain to me like as if I don't know anything because I don't. And then she was like, okay, well, you took over my sister-in-law's Facebook account and changed all of her pictures to be pictures of you. And this was like a older woman. She was like a mom. And then I was like, oh, I did not do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like that was not me. Somebody else has like clearly hacked into your sister-in-law's account and change the photos. And she
Using
was
the
like, but
photos
then
of you.
why?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, but then why are they of you? And I was like, because like on my other platforms, I have like a pretty big audience and I sent her screenshots and I was like, so like this amount of people
Yeah.
can just go Google pictures of me. And they were
Right.
all just pictures from Google. And I was like, they can just go Google pictures of me and like put them on there. I don't know why they would want to do that. They're probably trying to scam people pretending to be me,
Right.
but like I didn't do that.
Oh, that
And
makes
she was like,
sense. So they take over someone else's Facebook because I was wondering like how do they have like
so
how does it
many.
yeah, well how does
Yeah,
it
they
look like a
take it
legit
over.
account?
Because
Oh,
then it's
okay.
already got friends and
Right.
stuff. Exactly. So like then she was like, okay, well, can you take the pictures off of there? And I was like, no, like
I
I
don't have
can't because like
access.
I don't have the account. Like whoever put them up would have to take them down. But I'm sure you can like email Facebook and like explain the
Yeah.
situation. They'll probably be able to restore the post. And then she like realized that like I really didn't do it, and then she started feeling really bad because she
Yeah.
was saying really mean
Me
stuff to me. But I was
too.
like, I was like, it's
Oh,
okay.
it's a similar thing. It's like people come in with their own preconceptions about
Yeah.
things, and it's like once you get it squared away, it's like, oh, you realize like most
Yeah, and
people
then
aren't
she was
actually that bad, you know?
like the fog lifted and she was like,
Yeah,
"Oh my God, like thank you. I feel so bad. I did not mean any of that." And I was like, "Honestly, given what you thought had occurred, I get it.
yeah,
Like don't
yeah,
worry
yeah.
about it. It's fine.
Right.
Like I'm not a grudge holder. I'm not holding it against you." And then she was like, "Well, like the reason why I was so hostile, like normally I might be kind of annoyed over that, but like it was an obituary account."
Oh,
Because her
oh,
sister-in-law had died. So
oh. So
that was her
right.
Facebook account, and then
Oh,
they made it into an obit account after she died. So all the photos that this person deleted were all of the pictures they had of her
oh my
in one place.
God. Yeah, no, of
Yeah, so it
course.
was
And you're sad.
terrible.
You're like, it's
Yeah,
not.
I was like, holy shit. I was like, if you need me to email
Yeah.
Facebook also,
You're
I am
like,
happy to
you're like,
do
now
that.
I'm mad.
Yeah, I was like, that's the worst thing I've ever heard of in
Oh
terms
my
of like a
God.
motive for catfishing. What the hell? Who does that?
Right, right. Yeah, no, that
I
is
was
fucked up.
shocked.
Yeah, that's super fucked up. And I can totally understand why you'd be fucking angry. I would be too.
I know. I was like, who the fuck does that? Like, that's actually
And
insane.
especially
Get
like
me
someone
on the
who's a
phone.
little older that's like does not super
Yeah.
up on the internet stuff because I feel like people who are younger are like okay clearly like this is getting hacked or whatever
Yeah.
but and they wouldn't think that the person's who's hacking is using actual
Is
photos of
like doing it.
themselves.
Yeah.
You would like figure that's what's happening, but if you're a little bit older, you aren't that up on the internet, you have no idea and you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, this fucking girl like
I know. She was like, what the hell? She's posting outfit pics? Fuck you. On my
really.
dead sister in law's Facebook? What the hell? This is a psychopath.
Yeah.
And then, like, she wrote, like, on my wall a really long apology where she deleted all her mean comments. And she was like, I just want to explain for anybody who may have seen, mind you, again, this is my Facebook with like 3 followers on it. But, like, she's like, if anybody saw, I didn't know what was happening. And then she was like, I'm so sorry. She is very nice. She helped me figure it all out. And I was like, thank you. You did not have to comment this, but I appreciate it anyway. Because again, no one's going to see it.
Right. It's more for her probably to like
It was
feel
for
less
her
guilty
peace of
about it.
mind.
Oh my
Yeah. And
God.
I was
No,
like, I appreciate it.
I think, there's so many this like I mean, there's so many things in life that are just where people have conflict that if you just sat down and like talked to someone like face to face or, personally, I feel like it just would dissolve so much conflict,
Yeah.
and the internet's like such an angry place, like rah, 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 and it's like then
I
so many
know.
times it's like you just connect with that person and then suddenly you're all fucking good.
Instagram in particular, I've learned like thrives off hate. Like it's actually crazy because like me telling that girl Jessica that like my spine is fused and being like that's why I'm standing like this has like 6 million views right now because it's the one time I've like clapped back on the
Right.
internet basically. Like maybe I've like responded to mean comments like 3 times in 5 years. And it has that 6 million views because people saw me be a little upset.
Yeah.
And normally my videos are like, hey, this is what seahorses do. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
happy shit like
Yeah,
that, where I'm like,
educational. It's
how
hard to.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like me being like whimsical, and then I'll do like a true crime video every once in a while. But like the one video where I'm being sassy, everyone was like, Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucker.
Yeah. They got the rise out of you, so it just keeps it going, you know?
It did. I was like, this is insane. What's happening? And like TikTok's like so polar opposite for me audience wise, where people are like so like happy out there where they're if I seem even slightly upset, they're like, it's okay, dude, calm down. We're here for you.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
care. It's
yeah. You
fine.
got a
It's
supportive.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a very supportive audience. Instagram is like, this bitch thinks she knows World War II. Well, I was in Vietnam. And I'm like, okay, like what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
It really scares me. Like since when I started, I launched my podcast in September. I actually went on anxiety meds for the first time ever in my life. Like I'm
Really?
not an anxious person, and but it was such. I think like I had exposed myself so much on the internet in the sense of, being naked and stuff like that. But just suddenly me talking so much, I'd be on podcasts, but it'd be like someone else's. And it's like, but now suddenly having this thing that I'm posting like clips of all the time. And I used to like, I couldn't even watch them. Like I would just get the clip and I would just throw it up. And I didn't even
Yeah.
like listen to myself and I was so, so anxious about it because I think too, like, coming out of the pandemic, like before maybe I was so used to so much internet hate, like
Hmm.
having done porn. And then like over the pandemic, I had this like long kind of period of
Healed a
like,
little.
yeah. And it was like I wasn't like, I don't know, I just wasn't didn't feel as exposed for a couple years. And I had this whole year that I was kind of in my house. So, it kind of made me like a little bit more of like a chill, like private person in a sense. And then now
Yeah.
suddenly I'm like talking about like my sex life and stuff on a podcast and I had to go on anxiety meds because I was like, especially now with TikTok, like I was like, oh my God, like, just I see the comments on there and I'm like, cause same thing on Instagram, it's like kind of just my fans, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't get, and the algorithm's so trash that it pretty much only gets shown to like people who like me. But like then on TikTok scares me because I don't really use TikTok that much. And so it's like,
Right.
but if I do have something that hits, it's like, okay, that's cool. But that's also means that it's going out to a ton of people who have no like love for me. And it's just like random people. And I was
Hmm.
like, I don't think I can like handle this like level of like being attacked anymore. Like it used to like be like whatever to me. And I don't know, just maybe like getting older and stuff. I'm just like, I don't know, like I can't do it.
Yeah, well, it's also like you've always been vulnerable online, but you're being vulnerable in a completely different way
A
where
hundred
it's like
percent.
when people are like slut shaming you and stuff, you're like, whatever, that's you.
Yeah, yeah,
But then when
right.
people are talking about your personality, you're
Right.
like,
Yes.
that's me.
Yeah, I know. It's much more hurtful.
Yeah, we're like, hey, by the way, what the fuck? Why
which
did
is
you say that
funny
about me?
which is funny because I feel like going into something like personality was something I always felt very confident about, and I was never confident about my body. Like I had a lot of body issues and stuff like
Mhm.
growing up, and I like there was all the things I was the most insecure about like being naked on camera. It's funny because it really porn in a sense helped me get over a lot of those things
Right.
because a lot of the things that I would obsess over on my body, and think about how many hateful comments you get. And like,
Yeah.
okay, I used to be like super insecure about my ears. Like me wearing my hair slicked back like this, like I would 10 years ago, like that you would never see me like this
Your
ever,
ears are
ever.
cute.
Thanks. Thanks. I mean, I don't like now I don't care. I just thought they're, I just always thought they were big. And I was like, so like, since I was a kid, very insecure about
Yeah.
them. And then, after a year and a half of doing porn, I get all kinds of messages like, you're fucking ugly, you're stupid, you're a whore, you should die, whatever, whatever. Not one commented about my ears.
And you're like,
And,
yes,
and
that's
I
a
was like,
win.
it kind of helped me be like, okay, that is crazy. Like, and I remember it was funny because I think someone did like 3 years into me being in the business, right? I think I got one comment on something once that said something about my ears. And it was funny because I was like, oh man, if you had done this 3 years ago,
I would have
I
died.
would have cried. I would have been so embarrassed. But you managed to like, you're the only person. And I was like, kind of just like, hey man, I
You're like,
kind of
look,
agree. Like,
you're like,
like,
actually, it's you
yeah,
and me, bro. Like we're
yes.
in this together.
Like I agree, but nobody else does. So like, fuck it.
That's so funny. No, for me, it's like it's the opposite, actually, in my experience. Like, I have always like, I mean, I just like blew up for being fucking weird. Where like people were just commenting like, "What kind of autism is this?" Or like,
Yeah.
"Is she manic? Like, what is her personality?" And I'm like, I don't know. It could be all of the above, honestly. Like, I gotta figure that out still. But like I always started out doing like story times of just like things that happened in my life on a day-to-day basis, and I got like my first 50,000 on TikTok doing that. But then I was like, I'm like a homebody, so I'm running out of stories. Like
Yeah.
I'm not interesting enough to keep going. So then I was like, I'm just gonna talk about like all the weird shit that I know because I love weird shit. So I'll just talk about like history and fun facts. It'll be awesome. And then like that's where my platform is now. But like a lot of it is still very like heavily driven by like my personality.
Right.
And so I was I was immediately desensitized to people being like, "You're fucking annoying. I hate your voice." Like,
Right.
or like people seeing I have like a black boyfriend and being like, "Bet your dad hates you." And I was like, "My
Oh my
dad's my best
God.
friend."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Whatever. Like, what do you know?" And then like as time went on, now people are talking about how I look online
Right.
more. And like not just with this body thing, like I never gave a fuck about having a gummy smile in my life.
Yeah.
Like I've never truly I never even thought about it. I didn't even realize I had one actually until like I got on the
Yeah.
internet and then people started commenting shit like when you unleash your gums, it scares me, which like I actually always like to use that one as an example because that one's funny as fuck.
You're
But
like, it's
like
actually kind of.
yeah, I was like that hits actually like like that.
You're
But
like,
I was like I'm gonna weaponize my gums now, but like
yeah.
yeah, like I didn't even clock that I had a gummy smile at all. Cause
Right.
like for me in high school, my baby teeth fell out super late. I had like 4 teeth in the front of my
Oh,
mouth
me
only.
too. I had them too. Yeah.
Yeah, Casey, you know what I'm talking about. I
Yeah.
only had the first like 4 teeth in my mouth till I was like 17, and then I got all my teeth. So when I think about like fucked up mouth, I think about like when I used to have 4 teeth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're like, it's so
Like,
much
so
better
like
now.
I was like, I have a gummy smile and people hate it. What the fuck? I never even thought about that. That's crazy. And then people also always say that I look like a horse. And I always talk about it with my boyfriend where I'm like, another person just said I look like a horse.
I've gotten
And
that too before.
yeah,
I don't get
and
it.
what pisses me off about it, getting on my
Yeah.
soapbox, is I don't look like a horse is the thing. I know what they're saying. And my boyfriend always thinks I'm upset about it where he's like, "Babe, you don't look like a horse." And I'm like, "I know that. Like
Right.
I
It's not like
know
you're
that
insecure
already."
about it. You're just like, how could you make up such a dumb fucking insult?
I'm just like, "But I don't." Like that's like my beef. I'm like, "Do I have a long face?" Yes. When people say Sarah Jessica Parker, I know they're talking about me having a long face, though I don't look like her.
Right.
So fine. But I don't look like a horse. What I actually look like is this thing called a maned wolf. It looks like a fox and a wolf, and it is also got a long ass face, but it's like spindly, and it's like a little fox with super long legs, and its hair is like my hair color. I'm like, that's what I look like. I look exactly like that thing. It's got a longer face than a horse. I look exactly like that thing though.
I,
Thank you.
I feel
And
like
it has a gummy smile. That's me, not a fucking horse. So like my beef is the animal choice.
right. I feel like that's such a good clapback though. You're just like, actually, I look like this, because then the
I'm like,
person's
I'm this
like,
other weird
right.
thing.
It's kind of then the person's like, they realize that they didn't really bother you at all, but you're like still kind of shitting on their, that's a
Yeah, so I'm like,
pretty.
I know a girl who looks like a horse. She's fucking beautiful. She's like majestic as fuck. You look at her, she's got like big hair and she's got really defined face. I'm like,
Right.
that bitch looks like a horse in the best way.
Right.
Like the
Right.
girlies who were obsessed with like Spirit as a child,
Yeah.
if they saw her, oh my god, like they would lose their fucking minds. She
I
looks like a goddamn stallion.
yeah, I
I
don't.
wish I looked like a horse,
I'm
honestly.
I'm like, I don't. Yeah, I've gotten the horse thing too a couple times randomly. I remember the first time actually was like, do you remember like my first like college ACB? It was like back in like college. I think it was like Yik Yak because I think you're younger than me. So like,
Oh, yik yak.
yeah, so it
Yeah,
was
I
pre
remember
Yik Yak.
yik
It was
yak.
pre Yik Yak. So it was like when I was in college, and it was but yeah, you could like post anonymous things about people in there.
Yeah.
And I remember like some guy like posted like I look like a horse on there, and it was so weird because I was like,
You don't
and I was
though.
yeah, and I was like, I don't even like because I have like a long forehead, I guess, but I don't even really have like like
Your
this
face is
part.
very
Yeah, it's
proportional, is the
not.
thing.
It doesn't really
You have a
make
diamond shaped
sense.
face. It doesn't make sense at all.
It really doesn't. And I was like, I mean, like but I was like, okay, this is weird. Every once in a while, I'll get a fucking comment like that. Someone's like, look, she looks like a fucking horse, and I'm like, I don't get this, but it's fine because it's better
Yeah,
than
I get it
someone.
every day.
Yeah, like,
Today was the first day in my career where I found out on accident, someone made an hour-long YouTube video about me. That's never happened before. I knew it would eventually happen because like that Luckily, it wasn't like a cancel Daisy Foko video. So I'm like, thank
Yeah.
fucking God. I would have cried myself to sleep. I would have been like, no, I'm sorry. I think I've tried to get my facts right. Oh my God. Like, what are you upset about? But it was like somebody who was just like watching my content, just like reacting to it for like an hour or whatever. So it's like, oh, cool. Like, I'm gonna watch it. Like, I want to
Right.
see, like, what do they think?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
do they think I'm funny? And he titled it like reacting to like a hot history girl TikToker. And I was like, slay. I was like, this is a huge win for me. He spent an hour thinking I was hot. Thank you. And my boyfriend was like, why do you care? And I was like, this is a milestone for me. Nobody's made a video about me before that's this long. This is like a moment. And he was like, okay. So I was watching it. He starts out the video being like, all right, here's Daisy. She has a long, beautiful face, sort of like a horse. And I was like, God damn it. Like, he was listening to it and he wasn't even insulting me, but I was like, you see what I'm saying? Like, they always say I look like a fucking horse. Like, it always comes up. It comes up every time. And then I started laughing in the video he was reacting to, and he was like, oh yeah, she's got a super gummy smile. And he was trying to pull his lip up. He's like, I can't even get mine up there. And he was like, I still think she's pretty. I'm not trying to shit on her, but I can't even do it. And I was like, you see what I mean? Like, the internet always talks about me looking like a horse, always talks about my gummy smile. This is perfectly encapsulating what I'm talking about. And he thinks I have like a hang up about it where I'm like, I'm not going to surgically alter my smile
Right.
or
Right.
try to look less horse-like. It's just like people keep saying it. So like at a certain point, I'm like, is it true? Like I obviously was on the chocks, so that's true. But I'm like, do I look like a horse?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a gummy smile is good. It means that you have a big smile, you know? I think, and I
Facts.
think the horse thing comes from that too, because like we both have big smiles. And I feel like people think,
Yeah.
they think it's like your teeth are big, but I'm like, neither one of us has big teeth. You
No, I
know, it's
know.
just like because we smile big, so it's like you know,
Yeah. We're like double teeth smilers. That's like the
yeah.
thing, actually. A
I,
lady in real life one time, like her husband was like talking to me at a bar and like he was friends with my friend, but I think she thought he was like hitting on me or whatever. And she walked up and she was like, hey. And I was like, hey, because
yeah.
like I didn't know what was happening. And she looked at me for a second and I was like, what's happening? And she was like, you have too many teeth in your mouth. And I was like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And she was like, you have too many. Like, what is that, like 48? And I was like, 32. I have 32 teeth like everyone else. What the hell? And she was like, no, you don't. And she started gaslighting me about her. She's like, you definitely have like 48 teeth in there. And I honestly, I'll never forget her. I kind of respected it because I was like, this is the craziest derailment of your husband, like you thinking he's like trying
Yeah.
to cheat on you emotionally, that I've ever seen. Like, this is like psychological warfare happening where he's trying to trick me into thinking I have 48 teeth. Like, that is so creative of you. I have to respect the approach because that obviously it stuck with me. So it was clearly very
Right.
effective. I was like, I went home and I was like, has my dentist been lying to me? How many teeth do I have? And started like counting my teeth.
Honestly, I
I
wouldn't
was like,
even, I
you
don't
know.
even know how many teeth I have. So I would have been like, oh, damn, do I? Like,
You're like, do I
fuck,
have
that sounds like a
48
lot.
teeth?
I actually had,
That would be way too many. Like,
yeah,
way too
I've
many.
actually had 13 teeth like removed. So because they like wouldn't come out. So I
Yeah, that
honestly
happened
could
to me
have
too.
ended up with like 48 teeth.
Facts, actually. You actually could have.
They were all coming in over each other and stuff. So
Dude, that happened to me too. I had like a snaggle tooth,
yeah,
and then I
yeah.
had a tooth come in the center of the roof of my mouth. What the actual fuck?
Oh my God.
It was terrible. I know. And my boyfriend's never had braces. He has like naturally perfect teeth. I'm like, God, I hope our kids
Yeah.
get good enough and not mine because holy shit, it was brutal out there. And then my mom was like, why don't the boys at school like you? And I was like,
You're like,
it's like I have 4 teeth and one of them is in the center of the roof of my mouth.
how did that like? So did the braces pull that
They had to
over?
like pull it forward. Yeah, it was
Oh my
insane.
God, that's
It was
crazy.
fucking
Well, that's like,
whack.
I guess it's whenever anyone like kind of comments on like your physical appearance, it's just like, oh, you think that I'm like beat now? It's like,
Yeah, like you should have seen
I've
me
had a
back in
serious
the
glow up.
day.
Yeah,
No, literally, I'm like, this looks like shit to you. I could show you shit really quick. Also had
yeah.
like a pixie cut and it wasn't good. Like I had like a boy haircut, but my brother and I look very alike. And we had the
Okay,
same
yeah,
haircut. And so people thought we
cute.
were male twins because I didn't get boobs till I was like kind of old. So I was like flat chested and looked exactly like my brother and had no fucking teeth that were normal. And I was like, Mom, Honestly, and I did have a palate expander at one point, and this is when I still had scoliosis. So like I had a palate expander,
Oh
I
my
had
God.
scoliosis, I had no fucking normal teeth, I had boy hair, and the palate expander gave me a lisp for like a month. So I was like, Mom, honestly, I don't know why they don't think I'm hot either, because clearly I'm sexy, and they just don't know that about me.
It was in there. I remember my best guy friend sent me a video of yours and he was like, "Oh my God, I love this girl. Like I have such an internet crush on her. I watched one
Like,
of your videos and I was like, and I like never like go on TikTok like ever. And I was like, you're like one of my first people I ever followed on TikTok. I was like,
oh my
yeah,
God.
no, I was like, I like love your video. I like every time I'm scrolling. I mean, I mainly watch them through Instagram because I'm fucking an
Nice.
older millennial. My ex-boyfriend was like, one day he comes in, he's like, "Are you watching TikToks on Reels a week later?" And I go,
later,
"Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Just way to call me out. But every time I'm scrolling through, I'm like, "Oh, like I can't wait to learn today from Daisy." So,
thank you. If it makes you feel better, I do post my TikToks like 5 minutes before I post them on Reels. So
oh,
as
so
far as mine
technically,
are,
yeah.
you're up to date. You're up to date.
Hell yeah, I love that. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm like, I can't learn a new social media at this point. Like, I mean, I guess
You're like, it's
I
too
need to
much.
at some point, but you know, I'm just gonna put it off until I'm,
Understandable, honestly.
yeah. I feel like we went totally derailed this conversation,
We
but I've
did, but
enjoyed
it's fine because like
it.
that's how honestly though, we still covered our first core topic and it created the conversation that we needed to create. You know, like that's how fucking podcasts go, you know?
Right. No, and then honestly, sometimes when I like don't get to topics, I'm like, well, then just have them for the next time, you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like
like,
we could talk about it later. Like and
yeah.
we had a pretty solid, I mean, there was a little bit of story time in there. We had a pretty solid discussion about it and then it created a beautiful octopus of tangential conversation. What more could you ask for, honestly?
It's what
Love
life's
that
all
for
about.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for coming on my show. This is like a
Thank
really fun
you.
episode.
Thank you.
I'm really excited that you're here, and I want to go on your show too
I would love
if you
that.
want
No,
to have
oh
me.
my God. No, I would love that. I would like, I literally was like, I was like kind of nervous when I went on the pod. Like, I feel like that's why at first I was kind of like, I was like losing my train of thought. It's like,
No.
like,
You don't have to be nervous. I was excited. I was like, I'm going to talk to Carter Jane.
I knew, I knew you'd be so easy to talk to, but I was just like, oh my God, she's so cool. Like,
You're
so.
so cool. Whatever. Two cool bitches clicking up. Slay. Two cool bitches who had 4 teeth.
Yeah.
Extra slay.
We need to like, I'll like send you a picture. Maybe we can like on the video
have to
you can
trade.
you can insert them
Yes, I
onto the
will.
podcast.
I actually really will.